I feel like it hasn't even been that long since the last found media video, but here we are another 3 months later with a whole lot of new topics that have shown up, some really big ones too. This is pretty surprising in itself, because it also felt like this was one of the slowest summers for lost media of all time, but somehow by the end of it, all the finds collectively amount to a pretty large total. And as the year progresses, it's always fun to see how it compares to previous year's media, with 2022 still being ranked as my all-time favorite for what was found. I already have seen some people state that this year is the best year, and I will say that with some of the biggest mysteries finally coming to a close, that's a fair assessment to make. Not to mention, with what's been found recently, there are a lot of different areas that these topics have come from, so it's not just all animation or video games, for example. But with a few more months left in the year, we'll have to see how the rest unfolds. And for now, let's jump into the first topic of the video, which is our dedicated animation one. And yes, it's none other than SpongeBob. Now believe it or not, SpongeBob Lost Media in itself has sort of been put on the back burner recently, as there haven't been a whole lot of new topics showing up, and a lot of the older ones are at dead ends. This one is really the only one I can think of that recently was kinda popular, and found with relative ease, and that's the SpongeBob Jeopardy segment. I don't think I ever talked about this in a video, for the fact that it was found immediately after the last found media video I made, but this was kind of a cool topic. The SpongeBob Jeopardy segment refers to a thread that was made on the Lost Media Wiki forums, first created almost a year to the day before the segment was found. In it, the post describes a claim in a Discord server about an episode of Jeopardy that featured SpongeBob, and states, "Sometime last year, someone in a Discord server was asking about an episode of Jeopardy where SpongeBob reads the questions for a category. If I recall correctly, he said they used the same model of SpongeBob used for SpongeBob's Nicktoons Summer Splash in the Nicktoons TV launch promo." While no footage was available at the time of this post, a Jeopardy archive did have a chart that showed a Nickelodeon category and quotes from SpongeBob's spoken lines in the episode. Just like with any piece of SpongeBob Lost Media, or the ones that sound especially out of place, interest began to grow in the thread as people tried finding a copy of this episode, which you would think would be on the easier side, considering we had the day when it aired on, and Jeopardy communities do exist. However, no content from the show was found at the time, other than some contestants who were in it and mentions of it from online sources. A day later, on July 5th, 2023, a clip of the episode was found to have been uploaded to YouTube, but it didn't feature SpongeBob, so it was likely we were going to have to get the entire episode for this to resurface. It was very unlikely for someone to have just the SpongeBob segment, and this did not go very well. There were no solid leads or places where we could take the search, or really anyone to ask who could get a copy of this, beyond the general idea of looking in tape trading circles to see if anyone has come across it, or seeking out more Jeopardy fan groups that might not even know the segment is lost and is being searched for. Ultimately, the conclusion to this mystery would end on July 1st, 2024, though the post in the Lost Media Wiki forums alerting people to this find is dated the 4th. But in early July, user Sam Bonzi said they did a trade with a music collector who apparently had a recording of this clip on tape. Then Sam gave that recording to the channel Logo Central, who uploaded it to their account. And that was it. That was the conclusion of the search. SpongeBob Jeopardy had officially been found. Overall, it was a relatively quiet search that did only end up resurfacing thanks to a home recording, as we did foresee. But considering it was just a one-off segment, I personally found it to be of very high quality. Fun animation and unique dialogue made SpongeBob really feel alive in this context. They did a great job with it. And that was the first notable find immediately following the last found media video. And now it only gets crazier from here. Okay, this next topic is one that came out of nowhere, got really popular, and was found in such a short amount of time I could barely even follow along with it as it was unfolding. But considering its popularity and just how many people were talking about it over the summer, I feel like I have to talk about it here. I actually consider this topic to be one of the biggest finds for the entire summer just because of that popularity. And it's another nice little short and sweet story that gets a lost mobile game on the found media list. I'm sure if you've been following Lost Media over the past few months, you've heard about Charlie the Steak, but if you haven't, let me give you the lore. Charlie the Steak was a mobile game made for iOS devices that released in 2013, and featured a giant, goofy-looking steak as the main character, fittingly named Charlie. In the game, all the player is intended to do is torture Charlie through a variety of different means, which will give the character different reactions. As you can tell just from this concept and the way the character appears, it became a meme within modern internet culture in early 2024. I heard that the majority of his spread was on TikTok, but it eventually bled into other communities and areas of the internet. So for such a simple concept and a character that became a meme, you might be asking yourself, what about this is lost? Well, that was the big problem with this topic, because in fact, the entire mobile game was lost. You couldn't play or download Charlie the Steak from the App Store, as it had been delisted when the developer of the app closed. However, this did lead to a lot of speculation that it was intentionally delisted for being too violent, but that simply wasn't the case. In terms of visuals, we had plenty of gameplay and images from when it was first circulating, but now that it was considered lost media, they felt a desire to try out this bizarre game, and made an effort to get it unearthed. The game was only released on Apple and not Android, so that limited the amount of places users could even check to find a functioning app and get it dumped. Though eventually this did lead to one find from the series. The iPad version of the game was released alongside the original mobile app and was recovered and dumped by Dipper Gaming on August 2, 2024 to archive.org. But still, the main release was missing, and it would only be found as a result of the game's popularity after the developers caught wind of the interest in it. The person who developed the game, Sebastian Hall, commented on Reddit that he had heard about the demand to bring the app back and mentioned that a re-release could happen if they could update the source code to fit with the modern-day App Store guidelines. And as simple as that, 2 days after the iPad version was found, following Sebastian having heard about it, the mobile game was re-released when it was put back onto the App Store as he had stated. And that's it, Charlie the Steak was now found. Even though it was really cool to get the game through an official source like this, and it goes to show you the power of spreading awareness for a topic, I am pretty confident that eventually, a user with the mobile app on their phone would have come forward and dumped it if we hadn't gotten this official release. It seemed like it would have only been a matter of time. But with this one found, people were happy, and a meme game solidified its place in lost media history. I know it's been a really long time since I've talked about ChuckECheese lost media, but I would really love to get deeper into the mysteries surrounding that franchise in another video. So today I included this entry onto a found media list because it's a pretty huge discovery all on its own, and one that nobody expected to resurface. It relates to one of the rarest and most obscure stages in the restaurant's history, and changes the actual history regarding what we know about it. This topic is about the Concept Unification prototype stage. Now you might have heard the term concept unification before, or watched those awfully sad videos on YouTube showing crew members disassembling their Rockafire explosion characters, and this does in fact relate to that. Back in the late 80s, Showbiz Pizza Time had undergone a huge brand endeavor known as Concept Unification, which converted Showbiz Pizza locations and the animatronic bands all into ChuckECheese restaurants and utilized the characters from that franchise, completely discontinuing the Rockafire ones altogether. And in those videos you can see the process of how this was done in each location, with what would eventually become the CEC3 stage. But before this was finalized back at the corporate offices, they were experimenting with a totally different stage idea that could have been chosen over the 3-stage they went with. This stage setup is known as the CU prototype stage, and features quite a different design and appearance compared to what they would end up going with. The most notable difference in this design is the fact that instead of there being 3 stages like the Rockafire explosion used, only 2 stages are used, as center stage and the one on the right were merged together. It also featured a house interior and had all of the characters inside of it, rather than anyone being outside, like the C stage or rocker stage utilized. The animatronics themselves were also retrofitted on the tops of different characters, with Mitzi becoming Chuck-E, contrary to how Rolf would end up becoming Chuck-E in the final. And even more interestingly, Mr. Munch is not seen in these photos at all, because he actually had a unique function on stage. Rather than being a stationary character like he ended up being, it was reported that he was hiding in various objects around the 2 stages, and could appear to be traveling between them when popping out from his hiding spot. According to ShowbizPizza.com, this function would have replaced Looney Bird, the Sun, Moon, Choo Choo, and Antioch on the stages, so this function of Mr. Munch would have replaced a lot of small characters. Now, for as cool as this stage might look from the pictures, you're probably wondering if you can see it in action, and just before a couple months ago, you couldn't. The only photos we had of this stage were from the corporate office of the company in Irving, Texas, and it was believed that it was never installed into any actual retail locations at any point in time. However, that changed completely in July 2024, when a home video recording was uploaded to YouTube showing a birthday party that just so happened to be filmed at a location that actually had this prototype stage installed. It seems like a 1 in a million chance that for the first time in history, we can see the stage in action, and confirms that it was indeed put into a store. This one being at the Montford Drive location in Dallas, Texas. Though interestingly, the stage installed here does not physically combine the 3 stages into 2, and rather just leaves the curtains closed on one of them completely, so only 2 are used. It was also pointed out by the community that ChuckECheese and Jasper had a special head-tilting mechanism installed for this stage that was never used again outside of it. This is such an interesting stage to see, and it's unfortunate that it's so rare and that there isn't a lot of footage of it to begin with, but just getting this small video clip is so cool to unearth. Also, according to ShowbizPizza.com, this stage design was never used and rejected as a result of failing to keep certain elements of the original Rockafire band that were considered desirable, like the actual band theme being a prominent feature, and Helen needing a makeover to appeal to young girls, as Mitzi had. Basically, this iteration just didn't fit the theming they were going for, so it wasn't used beyond this test and the original one that was made at corporate. As a result, it's become one of the rarest and most special stages to the ChuckECheese community, and has now been found in some capacity. This next topic is sort of an update or revisiting of an old topic that I haven't talked about in years, because we thought the search was completely over, but in fact it wasn't, and leads into a bigger rabbit hole about the potential for more found media from this category. If you remember back to an update video from around 4 years ago at this point, which is crazy it's been that long, you might remember the huge discovery that was the Super Mario RPG plush set sheet. This was a catalog image that showcased all of the characters released for the plush set in Japan that promoted the Super Famicom game, and this in itself relates back to an even older mystery regarding the existence and legitimacy of the Super Mario RPG Mallow and Geno plush. For a little over a decade, only one image of a Mallow plush had been seen, leading people to wonder if it was an official product or just a custom, or if Geno existed at all and had just never been seen. Eventually, we got this image and confirmed that Mallow is official and Geno doesn't exist. But to our surprise, this is actually not the true set sheet that announces the plushes coming out, and rather, this one is. This is a group photo of all the Super Mario RPG plushes, taken from an August 1996 issue of Monthly Coin Journal, a Japanese publication. It was shared by Plush Nations in Chulimta as they were looking through catalogs, and gives us the intended and purest version of the Super Mario RPG set sheet. The previous image was just a group photo posed alongside a whole bunch of other characters. It wasn't the official photography shot. And not only that, but the plushes seen here are actually slightly different than the ones that were released, meaning they're prototypes, and we had no idea these were ever documented either. Of course, Geno is still not seen in the group, which suggests he doesn't exist, but some still believe he was made as a secret character, similar to how Supersonic does not appear in the Fighters set sheet, but is included in the full set. Personally for me, considering these are the prototypes though, and not just a photo of the final plushes, I find it very hard to believe they wouldn't have photographed him or documented his existence in a scene like this, as early in development as this was. The Mario RPG set and Sonic the Fighters set are also 2 completely different plush sets from 2 completely different companies, so I really don't think he exists, and this is even more proof than we needed before. But in terms of lost media, this is just the tip of the iceberg for what else was uncovered when this was posted. Apparently these monthly coin journal magazines are full of plush set sheets that have never reappeared online before and that nobody even knew existed, from Donkey Kong to Kirby to Star Fox and others as well. These are truly special to see after being hidden for almost 30 years. And even still, with all these finds, there are a couple well-known plush sets that were not found in these issues, including the Donkey Kong Country 3 set with Kiddy Kong, the Banjo-Kazooie set, and the Zelda Ocarina of Time set, which we only have in low quality. It's even more interesting to consider, especially with set sheets like the Ocarina of Time one that already exist online in some form, that at one point, decades ago, some of these could have shown up or been mentioned on websites and areas of the internet that have since been buried or deleted over the years. A website like SonicQ, for example, is one of the oldest that has been documenting the Sonic sets and somehow has still maintained its online presence over all these decades. But if at any point the website had gone down over all these years, we would have lost all this information and accompanying photos. And other than a site like SonicGear or maybe the Video Game Memorabilia Museum, which is gone now, the only other places I could even think to find stuff like this back in the day would have been older import shops, which have all gone away with the rise of eBay and being able to import stuff from Japan yourself nowadays. The knowledge that these catalogs exist could lead to an even greater find in the future, and hopefully as more awareness spreads with the existence of these magazines and set sheets that are now proven to exist, more can be recovered. In fact, it wasn't even that long ago when a lot of the old Sonic sets started getting higher quality scans, when previously they had only been in really low quality for the majority of their presence online. It's an exciting time in memorabilia archival, and as lost media gets bigger, more of the collecting community's oldest mysteries are finally being answered. The final topic of this video is the most recent and perhaps largest find of the whole collection, because it solves not only a lost media mystery, but also an internet mystery as well, that fans have been following for the past several years. You might have even heard about this one yourself if you were looking into internet mysteries many years ago. That's how I originally discovered it existed, but now for certain we can say that celebrity number 6 has been identified and the source photo found. For those unaware, celebrity number 6 refers to an unidentified figure that appeared on a set of curtains using artistic depictions of several other celebrities and well-known people. Back in January 2020, which makes this topic a 4-year-old mystery at this point, a user on Reddit named TonstaH posted about these curtains specifically and asked if other users could help them identify the people it was depicting. All of them were identified and the source images having been found, which can still be seen today. However, one figure, named celebrity number 6, could not be identified, and for years, it remained a challenge at trying to discover who this was supposed to be. TonstaH went on to describe where the curtains came from, mentioning they had been purchased sometime in 2008 and had come from a store in Finland called Antilla. With just this information, there was a lot of digging into the fabric itself, and slowly, more details about its history and production were uncovered, including that the fabric print had actually come from the Czech Republic, from a company named Latky Miraz. The original item number was also found, and it was consistent with every other seller who made posts of the same fabric, and similar orange printed ones were even discovered to have existed in the wild. But in every case, it didn't lead searchers any closer to identifying celebrity number 6, or where the original image came from in the first place. The only piece of information that was gleaned from the fabric itself is that some of the other source images were altered from their original design, leading to the possibility that there were features with celebrity number 6 that were changed for the print, and the source photo might not be an exact match. Interestingly, it wasn't even clear if the figure was a male or female, and a variety of possible matches had come forward, but none being an exact one. The dates of the other celebrity photos used also ranged wildly, from 1999 being the oldest to 2007 being the newest, so celebrity number 6's photo could have been from any year in between, or possibly even earlier or later. No one really knew. The search eventually grew so large that entire communities formed around research of the image and helped the mystery get spread by big names in the community over the years. But eventually, in September 2024, through approaching this search in a new way, user Stefan Morse color-corrected the image and changed its appearance to look visually more like a real human, rather than a flat piece of fabric. And then this image was reverse image searched, and led to the discovery of an article that featured Leticia Sarda as a possible match. One of Leticia's photographers was found and contacted through email as well, where a screenshot of the original image was sent over, confirming it was legit. Sarda was also contacted herself, and provided proof that she owned the original photo as well, and that all this time, she had no idea anyone was even looking into its origin. Collectively, everything was authenticated, and the photo was confirmed to have been used as a cover for the Spanish magazine Woman number 162, but was put onto the fabric without permission, as we could have expected given its mysterious origins. The only mystery that remained with the topic was how exactly the fabric company was able to find the photo in the first place, or where they got it from, since it took searchers so long to find another copy. But considering the wide range of source material they used on their curtains, it's possible it could have been anywhere online in 2008 and got buried or deleted over time. It's another big topic that 2024 has taken off of the lost media list and become found. While I'm not convinced yet that this year will beat 2022 for the best year for found media, there are a few more topics on my list that, if found, could definitely give it a run for its money. But with a few more months left of this year, who knows what else could show up. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out some of my other lost media videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Finn.